Yesterday, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at levels back in December. 2012 is a wash for the index. Anybody who thought, oh my God, the stock market looks better, it's time for me to get in, I've waited for a couple of years. If you thought that in March, well, you have not had a good last couple of months. What can you do now at this point? What can you do? How can you save yourself? Mike Casey, author of The Unfair Trade. We've had you on a couple of times here. We've talked about Spain. We've talked about China. We've kind of spanned the globe here. I want to get down to the very bottom line for the average investor trying to deal with this world on fire. How do you protect yourself? You just saw what happened with the stock market, right? I mean, you just did a roller coaster where you got nothing. How do you protect yourself? How do you protect your investments? What do you do in this world?
It's a really difficult environment, right? I mean, and the thing that I encountered as I traveled the world was this deep, foreboding sense that people have lost confidence in the institutions that have protected the global economy, whether it's the governments, the banks, and just sort of the social structures in some respect. And that's a kind of a frightening environment. But people are talking about literally not knowing where to run. We've seen at various times gold become a safe haven, and it rallied up to 1900 back last year, but we came all the way down again when people realized that ultimately you still can't, do much with gold. You need cash, and ultimately there's a rush back into dollars going on right now. But of course the dollar doesn't, and that really relates to treasuries, if anything else, U.S. Treasury bonds.
And it just seems like we're in a situation where it's one thing, it's great if you have money to invest and you buy stocks, you can buy bonds, you can buy gold. But for most people, their investments are tied up in their 401k.
Yep.
I mean, they don't have a lot of extra money to sit there and dabble in the markets. It just seems like we've built a world where you can't just work hard and keep your head down and get ahead anymore. Right. Is that true? Is that not true? Well, how do you respond on a day-to-day basis?
Look, I think people need to be, if they are worried about this scenario, I think they need to be conservative, and I think that the bond market is the place to be. Treasuries at 1.5 seems incredible. Why on earth would you want to buy something like that? But ultimately, if we are heading towards a Japan-like scenario, we'll get down to zero, and that's a gain. It's a capital gain right there. So it depends on your perspective. For the time being, until these problems are worked out, and frankly, the only way to work them out is through government. The little guy's not going to do anything. We need to energize our governments. We need to have voters in the streets pushing for
revolutionize.
Well, come on, let's use our demographic methods to get there. I mean, Greece, of course, is not necessarily a model we want to follow. No. But at the same time, there needs to be some level of pressure.
But you see the political upheaval.
Absolutely.
I mean, you see
it here, the Tea Party, the Occupy Wall Street movement, the fragmentation of so many different parliaments around the world reflect the fact that people just don't know where to turn. What needs to happen in this environment is some level of dialogue with our politicians, with our leaders, to try to get, in my opinion, to work out global solutions, because at the domestic level it's not working. We're pursuing these domestic agendas that sort of lose sight of the fact that all of the factors that are driving our economies right now are global, and so the solutions need to be global. The G7 had a conference call today, the group of 7 nations. They talked about a few ideas here and there, but it really needs fundamental change in the structure of the global financial system that needs to fix these things. What does this mean for the little guy? The little guy needs to get energized in some way. The little guy needs to sort of to take on the problem of money politics. It is a fundamental problem that large institutions, particularly large Wall Street banks, are funding our politicians. And
on both sides of the party.
On both sides.
Equally,
on both sides. You can look down the house and look at where the money's gone. It is pretty much the same. They own it. That's something that really should anger people. That's something that people need to sort of be on top of and try to restore. We need to rebuild a functioning capitalist system, a true free market, one that is actually.
Do you go outside the two-party system now? Is this the moment for a third-party candidate? For a new party, for somebody with some new ideas? Because those two parties, I got to tell you, I don't see any new ideas.
I tend to think that the two-party system has historically provided this country and others with something similar, with stability, and that's a good thing. So you wouldn't want to necessarily mess it up. But the thing is to sort of make the representatives themselves accountable. That's really what's needed. But it's a tough call for what people should do with their money at this stage. I don't really have any simple answers. I think people just need to get engaged.
We're about to bleed over into Opinion Journal there. We'll have to leave it there.